The No BS Spiritual Book Club, the only no BS guide to the best spiritual books to inspire your own journey of self-discovery. Here's your host, founder of the No BS Spiritual Book Club, Sandie Sedgbeer.
Hello. Most of us think of creativity as something that we do, a skill, a talent, a side project, maybe even a luxury. But there are moments when making something shifts us into a different state altogether. Time changes, awareness sharpens, we feel more present, more ourselves. Elizabeth Des Roches has spent her life paying attention to that state and treating it as meaningful. A creative mystic, designer, and entrepreneur, Elizabeth works with craft as a form of intelligence. Through her writing, her Substack journal, The Creatrix, and her client work, she explores how everyday acts of making, knitting, designing, writing, building, become portals into intuition, embodiment, and deeper knowing. She teaches what she calls the three realms of a fully lived life: work, craft, and life, not as separate domains, but as channels through which insight and evolution move. Her 10 best list reflects that worldview. It spans medieval craft ethics, psychic memory, Celtic energy systems, prosperity science, and intuitive mastery. Books that reshaped how she understands creativity, not as output, but as a lived, embodied process. If you've ever felt that cooking, knitting, designing, writing, or creating anything puts you into a different state of being, you'll understand why her work resonates so deeply. Her stories illuminate a simple truth: the act of making awakens the maker. Elizabeth Des Roches, welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Sandie. You couldn't have said it any better. I just love how you pulled it all together. But yes, absolutely yes to everything you just said.
Yeah. So you picked books that inspired you to create the three realms that you study and write about: work, craft, and life. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, it's taken me many, many years to come to that, because I would always think somehow this all works together, but I was always looking for the threads, and my form of art has always been fiber art and two-dimensional paintings and drawings. So as I was looking for these threads, one day it just hit me. It's like these three realms. For me, life is the spiritual realm and the way we live our lives, and craft is what you're here to do, and work is how you share it with other people.
Some might take issue with you about the way you treat books. You draw symbols, which you say just flow out of your pen as you turn the pages. Yeah. So when you pick up a book, is it automatic that you always pick up a pen?
It is funny. When I read a novel, I feel like I'm missing something, and I'm like, wait, I don't have to. Note-taking isn't necessary for this. It started actually in high school when I was in a school where the books were provided, but then I went to a private school where we bought them. And so suddenly I started realizing if I could write in the book, I could put my ideas right beside on the page instead of having it elsewhere. So that's just kind of carried over. And I have introduced a lot of women to writing. And at first they're like, I just use pencil so I can erase it. I'm like, no, it's a workbook. So yes. And I go back, and I have these pens. They come with the 4 colors. So if I reread a book, I'll use a different color. Or as I'm reading a book, like if it's really important, it gets pink and so forth. So it's definitely a practice.
So tell me about your relationship with books.
I can't remember not having books in my life. I mean, even when I was little, my earliest memories are sitting on my father's lap, and he was teaching me how to read with Dr. Seuss. So I know from many lifetimes, books have been very important in my lives. And this life, it just picked right up. So I have them everywhere.
Mm. So let's start with your list.
Mm.
And I think they're in no particular order. So the first one on your list is A Way of Working, The Spiritual Dimension of Craft, edited by D.M. Dooling, published in 1979. Not many people would think about the spiritual dimension of craft, which is probably why the title attracted you. Yeah. So tell us about how you came across this book and what it did for you.
I'm not sure how I came across this book. Ever since I moved to France in 2010, and since I've been here, there are no bookstores that I mean, there are French bookstores, but not bookstores I can wander in and pull things off shelves. So this is always something I've heard about a book and I find it on Amazon or somewhere else and I purchase it. This book, I'm pretty sure it came as a result of all the work I was doing as I was studying the Waldorf, the Steiner method, homeschooling my kids, because his focus is very much on using craft as a central aspect of the curriculum. So somewhere along the line, maybe I found this book in a footnote or a bibliography or something.
Yeah. So when you read it, what was, the impact that it had on you? What did you learn from it?
Oh, well, I went to my degree. I went to the University of Toronto, one of the only places there are a few places where you can get a degree in medieval studies. So I had that background already, and we sure didn't talk about the spiritual dimensions of craft when I was studying that. However, when I was reading that and they were talking about, for example, the people who worked on cathedrals, a cathedral that would take 200 years to build, and they're not going to see the finished product, but they were devoted to it. That really struck me because that's how I've always felt, but I didn't have words to explain that deeper feeling. Like you think you're just knitting or drawing. And it was reading that they have this vocabulary. They talked about the workman and then the journeyman and then the master, like the apprentice system. That makes so much sense because it echoes the sort of the awareness, the awakening stages when you first start being aware of the spiritual realms and then you go further and further. So I could see all these wonderful correlations.
You said in your write-up that the different identities one may hold as they create rang something deep inside me. The workman or woman, the artisan, the craftsman or woman, each has its own practices and skills. Tell me more about that.
Well, that's sort of what I was just saying, in that when you're first starting, there's so much to learn. Any craft, any skill. And at first you can feel like you're not quite getting it. And there can be feelings like, well, maybe I shouldn't continue this. And as you go deeper into the artisan and becoming a craftsperson, it's just that devotion gets stronger and it's no longer work. Like these identity shifts, you suddenly, this is who I am. This is what I do. And it's not a question anymore. Like, am I a writer?
So you're looking at it as a kind of evolution.
Absolutely.
You move, you grow, you start off as the apprentice, you become the master. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Yeah. And you said that you realize that craft shapes you as much as you shape it.
And that's something that not many people are aware of. But for example, again, going back when I was first teaching online, I was teaching women how to teach their children handwork, focusing mostly on fiber. And the more I understood, for example, the difference working with wool versus working with acrylic, something dead, and versus a living fiber that has energy in it, it shifts you. The movements of anything you're doing with your hands shift the way your brain works, the way your hormones are flowing, your state of mind, your ease, your emotions. So you change. And then the more you do this, the easier it is. For example, if you knit, it releases so many wonderful dopamine and serotonin in your body that you're in a nice Zen state for almost an hour and you only need to knit 5 minutes to get that.
Really?
Uh-huh.
You talked, I think you regard yourself as a slow knitter.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Tell me what.
Well, okay.
How do you knit slowly?
I'm never rushing, because some people do. It's like, it's a almost a speed sport for them. For me, it's not the output. It's the practice. It's the movements. It's the holding. Like, I spend a lot of money on yarn because I know I'm going to hold it for months and touch it. So it has to be the color that appeals to me, that inspires me. And so slow, like it's a meditative practice for me. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Book number 2,
Mm-hmm.
Practical Mysticism by Evelyn Underhill, published in 1915.
I don't know where it came from. They just show up. And this book I don't even own. I found it online and printed out 100 pages on pieces of paper. And again, this is so well read, so many notes. And the thing that appealed to me, practical. It wasn't sitting alone somewhere. It wasn't visualizing and meditating and then getting on with your daily regular life. It was part of your life. It is part of my life. I'm a mystic. Like, this is who I am. So I also like that she was a woman, because around that time, most of the other spiritual books were men who were writing. And that I only found out later that a lot of what she was doing then, and even in that book, she was hiding from people. So she wasn't really living it until later, when the book became more known. And I thought that was interesting too, because in my early time of openly talking about my spiritual abilities and interests, I wasn't really melding my daily life. Like, I wouldn't go down the street and tell people down the street what I do. Now, sure, you want to know about it? I'll talk all about it. But she gave me that permission, not permission. She showed me it's possible to meld the two.
So what was she actually giving in that book? Was she, practical mysticism? Was she giving, lessons, exercises?
I don't remember the exercises so much. It's just as I was reading it, it was almost like ticking little boxes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Like, they were just constant sparks, perhaps remembrances of things that most of my books, when I'm reading them, I can tell when I'm remembering something. And so there were so many resonant sentences and paragraphs and ideas. I was like, yes.
You said that you regarded it as a book that underscored your growing conviction that working with our hands and bodies is an essential component of being enlightened. Tell me more about that.
It's this whole idea of not separating the body and the mind away from the spiritual activities or experiences. And again, just this practical aspect, like, it's a bit Zen, you can sweep the floor and be enlightened. But what I found is, for me, sitting somewhere and meditating without moving, especially at that time, I had really little children. It just felt like kind of, I should be doing something. So when I started working with my hands and realized that I was having these meditative experiences and had something to show for it, my logical brain was like, oh, okay. And then I did it more and more, and it just became a natural part of my life.
I mean, were you, say, knitting and meditating as you're knitting and aware that you are knitting, or does the knitting become automatic when you're in that state of meditation?
Knitting is, to me, it's a wonderful physical, visible representation of being in flow.
Okay.
So the second that I pick up the needles, and I plan a lot when I'm knitting, I a lot of my ideas for the programs I offer, my podcast, it's just, I sit down and I knit and it's just like, oh, okay. I often have to put it down because I have to write notes. So it's a very quick way to open myself, and other people would have different forms. But to open yourself to flow and then I never have the feeling that I'm wasting time or that I should be doing something else, which I really like.
So, I mean, what are you using your hands on most? Is it knitting that you do the most? Is it baking? Is it
actually these days it's writing.
Writing.
Because everything, as you know, when you work online, it's the Substack. It's writing my notes for podcasts. It's writing emails and programs. However, when I'm not doing that, it's knitting. Knitting is the thing.
Knitting. Yeah. I mean, in England now we have, these reality shows where throw down pottery and, who's going to, which amateur person is going to win. They've now got one on knitting,
I haven't seen it.
Most people thought would be an incredibly boring show. But actually they say it's not boring at all.
No.
I haven't watched it, so I can't comment.
I just heard about it too, but it's not boring because if you're in a group of women who are knitting, let's just say, the conversation is completely different level than if you're all sitting around just drinking a cup of coffee. So
interesting. I'll have to watch an episode and see.
Me too.
So book number 3, you described this as a book that finally drove home the importance of having your brain work for you rather than allowing it to run the show unchecked. And it is The Science of Getting Rich, The Science of Being Well, 3 books, and The Science of Being Great by Wallace D. Wattles. And these were published all around 1910.
I didn't set out to have all 3, but they came as a little. It's tiny. Like all 3 books it's tiny little paperback. Like a lot of the people who were writing around that time, it's very succinct, and he has a little bit of an angle or an edge of you have to do this, which I don't really follow that closely. But what I liked was he put out this idea that you're running the show. Like you're creating your reality. So what it is that you desire, just you have it. You don't have to hope that it'll happen. Or one of the sentences that really stuck with me, he was talking about you never miss an opportunity. You might think that the thing you really, really wanted slipped through your fingers, but no, the thing that is best for you is still to come. And that just gave me such a feeling of, oh, okay, so I'm never late. I don't have to rush. There's no limit. And just this easy feeling came across. And I read that years ago, probably 10 years ago.
So a lot of people read his books for prosperity. Have you found that it's made you more prosperous?
When I was reading those books, I was still in those stages of doing abundance work. And I was doing the things like writing the little abundance checks and really playing around with it. And also seeing how much behind a lot of that world, there's a lack-based mentality. Like you don't have it, but if you do this, 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 and this, then you'll get it. And so in a way, his work kind of spanned the two, because he does say, like, do this and this will happen. But the core message is it's all like you're the divine being who's running this. So it's imperfect timing. You will have whatever is best for you. So prosperity, I see prosperity in so many different ways beyond just financial prosperity. And so I have many different realms of wealth. And yes, I am definitely more prosperous than before I found Wallace.
Book number 4, The Knitting Goddess, Finding the Heart and Soul of Knitting Through Instruction, Projects and Stories. Deborah Bergman, published in 2000.
One of the more recent books. It sounds like all I do is knit, but it's really, these were books that really showed me that melding between spiritual and physical realms. And her book, very interesting because she has stories in it of goddesses and famous ancient women and even biblical women and their stories, and how fiber in general, not just knitting, worked in their lives to create differences. And two of the stories that stood out the most for me, one was about the goddess Bridget, and she's actually very known here in France as well, but mostly people relate her to the Celtic countries.
Yeah.
And when I read that, and she was talking about how this and there's also the strange thing that there was a woman, Bridget, a Saint Bridget, physical, and then there's the non-physical goddess. But when she talked about how this woman was shifting realities, that appealed to me. And also, for some reason, I'm not really into the goddess spiritual realm. However, Bridget showed up for me years and years ago, and I never knew why. So,
Hold it right there. That should not be. Okay. I'm just going to have to take this. We'll cut this piece out.
Yep.
Oh, hang on. It's my grandson, so I have to call him back.
Welcome to the outro.
Hold on. Bear with me just 1 second.
Of course.
His parents are out for the day, and they were going to organise somebody to pick him up, but the fact that he's called me suggests...
Not.
Hold on.
Mhm.
Alec?
Hello?
Were you calling me for a ride?
Yeah, like later, about like 4:45.
It's going to have to be after 5. Where?
Station.
Okay, I'll pick you up. It'll take me about, 5-10 minutes to get there. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, bye. It was that. I'm so sorry.
That's
just as
okay.
well I never turned it off. Normally I would turn it off. I will turn it off now. I put it on silent too.
I
That's
had that
weird.
happen the other day too. I had everything silent and my phone rang.
Yeah, weird. Okay, so I'm going to
Mhm.
cut all that out. Do you remember where you were? We were talking about Bridget.
Bridget.
We were talking about...
Yeah.
Yep,
I think so.
what I'll do maybe is find a piece where it's a complete sentence and end it there. Maybe you would like to say something about how nobody talked about how it affects the emotions and body, and I'd absolutely never thought of it as a sacred art.
Okay.
So maybe you'd to start there, and that will give this,
So as I was reading this book, one of the things I found so different about the way she approached craft in general was she spoke about it as a sacred act. And I was raised Catholic, and in the church, no one ever talked about working with your hands or creating or drawing or writing even as a sacred act. So this really got my attention. And then as I was reading her different stories, she showed how women have used these to create their lives. And so I was really taken by the story about Bridget. And the second story that still to this day, she was talking about Rachel. And Rachel was a woman in the Bible who could not have children. And it was at the time where your husband had multiple wives. And so everyone else was having children for her husband, but her. And at that time, I was going through a fertility journey, shall we say. And it was so lovely to see how she linked this Rachel's patience is what she talked about. And her work, I think she was spinning mostly. And I thought, okay, I can use these fiber arts as a way to have this patience, to have this, again, this knowing that the divine moment is going to be whenever it is.
Yeah, that's very neat. So book number 5 is The Intuitive Way, The Definitive Guide to Increasing Your Awareness by Penny Pearce, published in 2009. I really enjoy Penny's work.
Oh, yes, I do too. And the thing that I found the most captivating was that it was a real workbook. And there were exercises. And so I would stop, and I had a little notebook beside, and I was doing, it took me forever to read the book because there's so many exercises, but I was doing them because she brought me this awareness that intuition is a skill that we all have. I mean, we all have to various degrees, but that it's a skill that can be enhanced. And now I see it very much like a sport. Like the more you practice it, the better you get.
Yeah. So that was, you said that it became a turning point, that particular book, and a friendship. What did the system actually unlock in you?
It showed me that you could look at intuition, and I've expanded beyond that. Like I see the whole non-visible, invisible, unseen realms as this whole system that you can learn, you can expand into the different. For example, I talk a lot about the clairs, and I work with women to help them hone the different clairs, because it's all intuition, yes, but clairaudience, clairsentience, they all have their own subtleties, and they activate different parts of the bodies. So reading Penny's book, the way she so clearly set out, okay, this does this, try this, and you could feel the responses, the results. That really gave me this feeling that I can teach people too, and set it out in a way that's not just, yeah, it works. Because before that, I had no words to describe the steps and the ways of doing things.
Book number 6, Shaman Pathways, The Celtic Chakras, Hélène Sentier. And you said this is a short book that features different ways to look at the chakra system.
Tiny book, packed full. It was one of those, every page of, what is this? It is well loved. And the thing that stood out the most for me is up until then, I had never questioned the concept. Like everyone talks about the chakra system, and it's a straight line from 1 to 7 and maybe 8 if, or further. She talks about the chakra system as a spiral. And I was already playing with the concept of spirals and reading what she was talking about. She was talking about pairing the chakras. And this was a huge thing for me. The second chakra, everyone says is creativity. But for me now, going deeper after her work, it really brought home to me, second chakra is creativity, but it's unconscious creativity. Like you grow a baby, you're not saying today is the fingernail day. The fifth chakra, the throat, that's conscious creativity. So now when I work with women, we're working on both. And most of the women I work with have done the babies or have never had babies. So the second chakra has always been kind of something they've avoided. So we work with that. And the fifth chakra is this self-expression. And that came through that book. And the other thing that she had in there was the way she described time. And that just, you have to kind of get the book and see the images, because she has these wonderful little symbols. But just that time is always moving. It's very personal. It's everyone's sense of time. It's all different. Everyone's unique. So.
Book number 7, Stroking the Python. Women's Psychic Lives by Diane Stein, published in 1951.
You know, I didn't realize that. I thought that was in the 70s. Wow.
I don't think so.
No. It's just when
unless we've made an error, which is possible.
all I know is it's a workbook, and she again goes really deeply into the different forms of divination, the different methods we can use to get non-physical information, whether it's through dreams, whether it's past life recall. She goes very deeply into all the clairs, telepathy, bilocation. It's like an encyclopedia, and every page, again, so much information, great bibliography. I learn a lot from bibliographies and footnotes, and she is well researched and great stories. And again, what I find is when you read a story about someone who did whatever, I can just feel my logical brain saying, oh, well, that's possible then. Someone else did it. So that's what I like about her work. And she has so many, she's quite a collection of works. This one particularly struck me because, again, that's what I'm teaching women. So I like to have at least a starting point, and then I go from there and I create my own methods from it. But seeing someone else who has articulated these ideas gives me that starting point.
Yeah. So book number 8 is Wild Creative, Igniting Your Passion and Potential in Work, Home and Life, Tammy Lynn Kent, published in 2014. And you said that just reading this book sent you to England to study with her. That's a bit extreme.
It's not the first. Actually, it was the first time I did it, but since then I've done it a couple more times of reading people's work, and it's just, okay, I want to meet these people. This book is unusual because she works with women, but she does a lot of physical work and even internal work with women, mostly around all of the reproductive system, but also the rest of any women's functioning. And I loved that she was, again, melding the physical with the creative. So I took the course. It's very funny because everyone else there, all the other women were midwives, massage therapists, energy workers, and they're all looking at me, well, what do you do? I said, well, I actually help women design companies. What? But what I discovered there is I had some very potent, surprising energetic experiences that I had never had before with women I've never met before. So the energy was so palpable. That's when I remembered what I'm capable of doing in terms of energy work. And I got on that plane and I booked that course, and it was wonderful.
I liked what you wrote. You said her descriptions of how creativity functions inspired me to truly consider what happens as an idea descends in frequency and becomes manifest as a project, a child, or a new way of being.
And it's funny, I was just writing about that today. Again, women want to know, they ask me, well, how does this work? And it's taken me a long time, but the way I see it is ideas are very high frequency and they're very amorphous and they're big, and a lot of people, they can feel it, but they can't figure out how do you bring this down and get it out your pen or type it, whatever. So listening to her and again, working with everything else I know, I realized that an idea has to slow in frequency for our logical brain to actually become conscious of it, because our logical brain only functions in a certain frequency. And then from there, you turn it into a thought, and then that thought can start to become the project that you do. And then what's really interesting is she doesn't talk about this, but the way I see it is, for example, you write a book. Now that project is physical. Now you have to send it back out into the world, and it becomes almost non-physical again and moves back up into the realm of ideas. So this is my spiral. You bring it down in frequency, and then it rises again as you share and other people interact with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Book number 9, Fire in the Heart, Healers, Sages and Mystics by Kyriakos C. Markades, published in 1985.
Another book, no idea how I found it. And it's again, there's a series, I think there are 3 of them. And this is a man from the States, a university professor who was Greek, and he came across this mage in Greece. And he started studying with him because this man was miracle after miracle, like the healings, whatever this man wanted to do for somebody, he could do it, and including vinegar into wine, like all of the traditional miracles, this man was doing it. So what I like, again, it's a chronicle. It's not a made up thing. It's not biblical 2,000 years ago, 1984. And so I studied all of his books. And even though I'm not Catholic anymore, I was very taken by how this man he was really interested in the original Christian mystics. And that I am interested in, because these are people who were initiating these new ways of doing things that were very pure and extremely powerful. And very shamanic.
Yeah.
And I liked that too.
Book number 10. I went in search of this book and it's not available. I mean, copies are, but they're like hundreds of pounds. But it is available on the Internet Archive. You can't download it. You might be able to copy and paste each page, I don't know. But it is available to read online. And I think when people know about this book, everyone's going to want a copy. Human Energy Systems, A Way of Good Health Using Our Auric Fields, including Special Eye Exercises by Jack Schwartz. Published in 1980. I would have thought it was older than that. Yeah. This book seems to have some incredible material in there.
I actually have this book. I must have bought it. I have these little lists on Amazon from secondhand books, and periodically I look, and when a book's, in a reasonable price range, I'll get it. But yes, his story, again, it's very interesting. As I'm going through all of this, I constantly was trying to find ways to understand what it is I am capable of doing in terms of working with people, working with energy. And basically what he could do is he could heal his body over instantaneously. And if you look them up on YouTube, you can see videos where they're piercing his body and there's no blood. And he had such an awareness of how the energy system of the body works that he could just make it do whatever he wanted. And his ideas about the auras are very different. He has this whole tarot system built into this one book. There's another book of his. It's called It's Not What You Eat, It's What's Eating You. And that shifted everything about how I see health, what's possible. And all of this is funny because only very recently I've realized that I'm moving beyond working with people about health. It comes into my work, but it's not what I lead with, because I'm very interested in evolution and creativity. But I have this underlying knowledge from all of this about the different ways of understanding you are healthy. It's just what's standing between you and your natural health. So
Yeah, you said in there he has a very unique way of working with the chakra system. He offers simple potions you can make to heal your organs, exercises to learn how to see and read auras, and even fascinating method for linking tarot cards and numerology to our health. Sounds like one that we all need to have.
When people visit me, like my mother and my mother-in-law, they're like, will you make the potions for me? I mean, they're simple, but there's for the liver, for the kidney, for the gallbladder. You just drink it. And simple stuff, very, very effective.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's your 10 best list. I mean, listening to the stories behind your book choices, I mean, it's obvious that your creative, intuitive, and mystical lives have always been intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
So how did this, integrated version of you come into being?
In large part, these books, and because I have quite an amazing memory, so I can remember when I read something similar in another book. So there's a bit of a web going on where I'm pulling information together. Also traveling. Since I moved to Europe, I go to places like I've been to Iona, I've been to Glastonbury, south of France. I was recently in Ireland. That changes my system, my frequency. I'm just not the same person when I come home. My family's used to it now. I come home and they're like, oh, okay. So actually physically going to these power places has become very important for me. And playing. I play with things. I try stuff out. And the more I feel it, like my nervous system is not the same as it was 2 or 3 years ago because I've just been expanding. Okay, how much more energy can I run and feel good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you write about the lived experience of creativity, intuition, and mystic awareness. What themes are you currently exploring in your writing, in your Substack, that feel most alive for you right now?
Well, the most recent is this idea of moving beyond trauma and drama, which is where most people are talking on the internet. It's most of the books, the whole self-help thing, and moving towards this evolution and creativity in a way that I'm not looking at like that the other stuff is invalid. It's just I really have become aware that what I'm interested in for this life is this sort of higher level. What do we do after the healing? What do we do after when you get to this place where, okay, everything's good. Now what? So this is what I'm talking a lot about is, okay, what happens next? And it gives those who don't feel they're there inspiration and like, oh, this is possible. Because I had a woman the other day say, I want to work with you because I want your life. I'm like, okay, well, you can have your own, but it's that offering this. And then for those who are at this point, okay, now what? What do we do with this? How does this permeate our work? Like, what do we offer clients?
Your Substack, you call it The Creatrix, explores work, craft, and life as sacred realms. How do these realms inform each other for you?
The work, craft, and life. My Substack is the Creatrix Experience. And I picked that purposely because it's all about the experience, whether it's physical or non-physical. And to me, it's back to the life, craft, and work in that once you realize they're all working together and they're all informing each other, you can start to see, for example, if something's feels like it's going really, really well, like you're getting these great downloads, you're writing, you can allow that to permeate into how you share it, whether, the kind of clients that come into your life and also into your personal life. So I divided them so I could speak about them separately. But of course, you can't really divide them. It's just a way to make it easier to have these different articles and different points of view.
Yeah. You often talk about evolutionary creativity. What does that mean to you?
Well, one of the other things I'm currently working on is, of course, I've had this fascination with the clairs my whole life. And now I'm exploring the idea of expanded clairs. And the way I see it as our current clairs, the ones we all know about, kind of only pull information in from our inner field. Like information that's already close to us, that's just almost conscious, but not quite, or information that we have experienced or gathered in other lives. That's the clairs. And what I'm experimenting with is, what if we go out into I call it the outer field, where these expanded clairs, so instead of just plain old clairsentience, for example, you get more subtle and you start being able to sense and understand information that is less formed, that's closer to the archetypal idea, for example. And this gives you the opportunity to have truly innovative work.
Your clients describe, real energetic shifts after working with you. What actually happens in a session with you, and how does that process support their work, their relationships, their inner clarity?
It's that's taken me a long time to be able to have the words to describe, because I used to just say, I don't know. But one of the things that happens is I create an environment that is expansive, but also quite often at a higher vibration than the client. And we always attune up. So if someone is holding a higher vibration, and if you're somewhere close, like if someone came in and they were completely depressed, a very, very low frequency, I wouldn't be doing this, because the space would be too great.
Yeah.
But the clients that I work with, they're just at that point where they're ready. And so I create this expansive, open environment with words, but also just my energy, and their system attunes to it. And so ideas come through, their bodies shift. I've had women who have literally, they've gone back to the doctor, and the doctor said, I think I made a mistake. Your thing's not there anymore. And it's just because their bodies shift, the energy is smoother. Places where the energy was clumped loosens, and then their ideas flow, and then they have more, they feel more capable of self-expression. Then they can write their Substack, then they can record their videos, and they don't have those feelings of, who am I? People will think I'm strange. A big question is, will I run too much energy and blow my circuits? So I help them play incrementally with more and more energy, so that their body knows it's okay. You won't go crazy. You won't burn out. You won't get sick. So it's a kind of a all over global experience.
You're thinking of writing a book. Tell me.
Well, since we had our previous conversation, it has not left my mind. It is happening. One of the things that I have not done it for a couple of reasons, not for lack of content. I have thousands of pages written. It was always that feeling that if I wrote a book, it would somehow become too formed, and not, the energy wouldn't feel alive and vibrant. And when I was speaking with you, we were talking about writing a book in a serial format. And I really like that, because then the energy I can always go back. So if I had one section and I wanted to add more to it, I could, as opposed to trying to squeeze it into a book that was already sort of formed and hardened.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to write it about is, I created a framework, and I call it the Creatrix Spiral. And it is what it tracks that idea of the idea coming down in energy into a project and back to an idea. So there are 13 powers in my framework. So I'm going to write 13 little novelettes. I don't know what you would call them, the little sections for each of the powers. So that's the plan.
Sounds very good. So what I would do with that is I would do it both ways. I would turn it into a book, because people are going to want to get their hands on it, and I would continue to add to it. And then it becomes a living thing that gets updated, and people can always buy the next edition and the next edition.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's it. That's that feeling. And that was our
Yeah.
conversation that made it clear to me. Actually, there were two things. One, that I was trying to keep it alive and I couldn't figure out how. And the other thing that happened during our conversation is I realized that I had been holding an ancient thought form around the fact that I could not sell my words, my sacred message. And that's a whole other thing. But I will say that there was a huge expansion in my field after that
Good.
conversation. Oh, yes.
Good. Yeah. Great. I'm always encouraging people to write. We've all got a story to tell.
Oh, yes.
And every story is needed. People think, oh, no, other people have got similar stories. Why should mine? No, every story is needed.
Absolutely. Yes.
Good. I'm glad that happened. So we always end with the same question. Steve Jobs famously gave all the attendees at his memorial service a copy of Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda as a gift.
Wow.
What book would you like to give to the attendees at your memorial service?
There's a thought I've never had. I think it would be whatever it is I had most recently finished writing.
So it'd be one of your own?
That don't exist yet, but I'm going to be here for another 50 or 60 years, so I have time. But it would be that, my words, because I know my words hold the energy of everything I've ever read and all of my experiences. Yeah.
You're the first person to say you own something of your own. Yeah, and that's great.
Wow. It's because I know that the energy that comes through me is completely unique. And I know anyone who's at my, whatever it's going to be, is there because they have enjoyed my energy.
Yeah, makes sense. Well done.
Thank you.
Done. Elizabeth Des Roches, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me. I so enjoyed making the list. It was not an easy task because I have thousands of books, and also just thinking through them and looking at my own path. It's been very enlightening, to say the least.
It is that kind of experience, yeah. Everybody says so, and that never occurred to me when we first started, this. But I'm glad it's a rewarding experience because it is a bit of a task. Yeah.
It is, but it was fun.
Yeah. So, for those of you at home, what stands out in Elizabeth's work for me is the reminder that creativity isn't a hobby. It's a form of intelligence, a way of listening. And when we follow that impulse, whether through our hands, our business, or our intuition, something in us reorganizes. The act of making, as she said, reveals who we're becoming. So consider this. If creation shapes the creator, then every choice you make, every stitch, idea, or decision is part of your evolution. So, what are you making with your life right now? And what is it making in you? For more about Elizabeth Des Roches' creative and mystical work, her offerings, writing, and upcoming projects, visit elizabethdesroches.com and check out the Creatrix experience on Substack at creatrixexperience.substack.com. I'm Sandie Sedgbeer. Thanks for watching, and may your creativity keep opening doors you didn't know were there. And as always, trust your own experience above anything you read or hear. See you next time.
If today's conversation sparked your curiosity, you'll love our other shows. The Synergy Sessions, where leading-edge thinkers collide in bold, unscripted dialogues that ignite new possibilities. Between Realms and Reason, where we journey into the mysterious consciousness, energy, and the hidden layers of reality, where science converges with spirit in ways you've never imagined. And the No BS Spiritual Book Club, where leading-edge new thought speakers, teachers, authors, and luminaries who've walked this path before you share the 10 books that had the biggest impact on their life journey. All 3 shows are available on YouTube, Spotify, Substack, and all major podcast platforms. For more information, visit sedgbeer.com. That's SEDGBEER.com.